you do that? How did you do that?
Welcome back everyone to another ESO build video. Today I'm going to be giving you the update to the Fury build, the PvP Stam DK or Drgaonknight. Now I did use this a lot in the past, especially during Morrowind and a little bit before then. Also in Horns of the Reach, but there wasn't anything really to change. So I didn't bother making an update for that. However, since this recent patch in Clockwork City, armor has changed quite a bit, especially heavy armor, because you no longer dish out more damage for getting hit, and of course you can't use shuffle unless you're using 5 medium, you can't use immovable unless you're using 5 heavy, and you can't use annulment unless you're using 5 light. So it's a lot more balanced now, so things had to change, due to which this build has changed quite a bit, not massively. It's still using one of the major sets and recovery bonus sets of course, but a rather interesting set has kind of been added to the mix, but we'll get to the gear in a bit. Okay, so first of all I'm going to look at the stats. Let me just get buffed up and stuff first. Resist, pop a potion, buff, crack him. Nearly 4k weapon damage, which is now going to fall off because of the glyph. 43% crit, 24, almost 25k health, and 35k stamina, alongside 20k spell resistances and almost 17k physical, with 2.8k crit resistance. Very, very nice indeed. Also 1.2k recovery. You can push that to about 1.6, 1.7 if you change your food, which I'll go over in a second. But all around, you got pretty good stats. Nice recovery, nice damage. The weapon damage, by the way, looks around 4k when it's buffed. We'll do it again. Buff up. Glyph. As you can see, almost 4k weapon damage. That does actually go to 5006 when you're fully buffed. What I mean by that is when you make certain sets do what they're supposed to do. Well, I'll get to that in the gear. You'll see what I mean. You'll see where I'm going with it. The health, by the way, it looks like 25k almost, as I said already, but it does go a lot more than that in Cyrodiil. You're pushing more 30 to 32k, depending on whether you've got buffs or not from Emperorship, in which case you might be able to get a little bit more. 64 points into stamina to give us the most resources we can possibly get with this particular setup. Stage 4 Vampire and the Warrior Mundus Stone. We are using max health, max stamina food, so very, very flat. Although if you want, you can change it if you're not comfortable with your sustain. However, I preference this. This is where I'm using the max health and max stamina. But if you want, you can dip a little bit in health and stamina, and you can use this one, which will give you more recovery as well. So it's a good balanced food, quite expensive actually. Very, very good for sustain, but if you're more comfortable with just the flat stuff and hitting with heavy attacks to gain your resources back, this stuff will be absolutely fine. Potion wise, I have one with extra speed on it. You don't need to worry about that too much. That's kind of when I'm stealthed and trying to clear ground quickly, but don't worry about that so much for now. That's more when you get really used to it. But to start with, basic immovability pots. Makes you immune to knockdown for 15 seconds. Gives you health back and health recovery, but health recovery is useless because we're a vampire anyway, but don't worry about that. Also gives you back stamina and increases your stam recovery. So this is your good all-round sustained stroke, you can't be knocked down potion. Very, very good. Very standard for PvP. Now, first of all, we're going to go over the skills. Very, very quickly, of course, because most of you are already familiar with these, especially if you've been playing PvP for a while, but I will go over them in minimal detail, I guess. Two-hander. First of all, we're using Crit Rush. Critical Rush, in fact. It's the second ability you'll unlock in the two-hander skill line, and you morph it to Critical Rush. Basically what this does is a decent amount of physical damage, and it's your gap closer. You can actually go from 0 to 22 meters in one click. Minimum range of 3.5 meters. And every single hit will be guaranteed crit. So if you use this from here, it's a crit. If you use it from here, it's a crit. It doesn't matter. It's always going to be a crit. Minimum range is 3.5 meters. So you can't use it here, but you can use it here. But the further away you are, the more damage it does, as you can see. Very, very useful. The second ability, Dizzy and Swing. First ability you unlock in a two-hander skill line. Basically uppercut, and that does exactly that. It hits them under the chin with a really big swing. But if you change it to Dizzy and Swing, it will have a knockdown effect for 3.5 seconds, including the knockback as well for 4 meters, and stupid damage. However, you can morph it to Wreck and Blow if you like, which means each swing will empower the next. However, that one doesn't have a knockdown, so the choice is yours. But personally, I prefer the knockdown. Give them a bit of a CC problem, and then you can smack them when they're down. But that's basically it. One of those. Really, really powerful. Spammable. Just make sure you get your heavy attacks in to keep your stamina up. Third, Camouflage Hunter. This is very, very important. It starts off as Evil Hunter, and it's from the Fighters Guild skill line. Let me find that for you. Down here. It's quite far in. Basically, unlock the Fighters Guild skill line by going to your Fighters Guild area in your starting zones, and you can unlock this section. Then, if you kill undead, Daedra, werewolves, anything like that, it will constantly contribute towards your skill up or your level up for this skill line. And eventually, you'll get to here, and you'll be able to unlock this. Put it on your bar for the major savagery, so you have crit all the time. It's a 10% crit bonus, but also you can decloak people from stealth. So if you activate it and stand near them, you'll unstealth them, and they can't go invisible for a little while. Okay, so basically what this does is if you crit from crouch, you gain minor berserk. However, here's a little trick to it. Rally, which I'm now about to get to, gives you a heal every 2 seconds. That's based off of your weapon damage and your max stamina and all that kind of shiny stuff for physical bonuses that you have, and it can crit as well, just based off the same stats as your weapons do. However, although you can't heal past 100%, it still registers whether it would or would not have crit per tick. Watch this. Watch the buff timers at the bottom. There you go. I just received a crit heal. It puts minor berserk on me because it assumes I just crit with weapon damage, which I just did. And it will stay with me. So while I'm crouching, I actually have minor berserk straight away. And I can hit with it instantly. Guaranteed crit from stealth. And of course, it's huge. Let's hide again. This I'm going to show you the heavy attack bonus, by the way. Let's mess with this a little. Can we crouch away from the skeletons? Come on. You can't see me. You're not even real. Give me mine on berserk. Come on. Come on. Don't let me down. Oh, it's not critting. There we go. Ouch. 44.5k. Disgusting. That goes a lot higher once you get all your little buffs and stuff, especially in Cyrodiil, but whatever. You get the idea. Basically, make sure that your attack is from crouch. And make sure Rally's already running, because you can pop out minor berserk before you even start. So you've already got a bit of a head start on the timer. Bit sneaky, but it works. Don't know if it's intended that way, but that's how the game registers it. So for now, it works. Take advantage of it. Okay, Rally, this is the important one. This is where I was trying to explain just then. Basically, this is your main heal, or your burst heal if you like. It's quite far in the two-hander skill line. This will heal you once every 2 seconds. It will give you major brutality, increasing your weapon damage by 20% for 33 seconds. And the whole time it's running, every 2 seconds, the heal, basically, that you get at the end, gets stronger. So the longer the duration of it, the bigger the heal at the end. However, you can take that heal whenever you want. You can force it to be a burst heal like now. So if you have it running, and you press it again, you receive whatever was counted up in the pot. If you leave it running for longer, it will get stronger than that, and then you can take a bigger burst heal. It's a risk factor. Basically, the lower health you go, or the longer you leave it running, the more effective it is. So don't just spam it, use it at the right time. And this is a good example for you. At the moment, it's nearly 5k. Now 7, leave it ticking. 7.5, 8.5, it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Then take the burst heal when you're ready. So the trick to this skill is to, one, keep it active all the time, because of course if you press it again, it starts again from scratch. But take advantage of the bigger heal, the lower the duration is left. So if you have it running for, say, 20 seconds or so, you're going to get a big heal. If you're running for 5 seconds, it's going to be quite small, so I wouldn't bother. Very, very powerful, however. Takes a bit of practice to get used to that one, and also a bit of ballsy behavior as well, because you have to go quite low to really take advantage of it. Okay, reverse slice. This is very, very simple. This is your main execute, and what this does is it can increase the damage that you do from it based on the less health the enemy has. So under 50%, the less they have, the more damage you deal, up to 300%. But this actually has an AoE effect as well. So if you hit someone with this, enemies close by will get splash damage up to 91% of the damage done. So basically, if I hit this dude, it's going to be weak because he's quite high health. But if I hit him with this, his friend gets hit. And other people close by will all get hit as well. Very, very powerful. So if he's nearly dead and you give him a quick slap and kill him, the lower his health, the stronger this is, the more damage he's going to take. And then you can crack him with it afterwards and kill him. Really, really powerful. Batman, this is called. This is Batman. I don't care. There's also I'm allowed to call it Batman because of copyright infringement, of course, but I'm calling it that. Let's face it, that's what they wanted to call it. And this is very, very simple. Level 12 in the Draconic Power skill line, you'll unlock this ultimate. Morph it to take flight, has massive range, knocks down enemies, stuns them, does stupid amount of damage, and of course you can do it from stealth if you've got Minor Berserk running. It's broken. Absolutely love it. Very, very cheap as well. Let's get Minor Berserk running and then we'll hit him with it. Unless I've already done it. Come on, come on, come on. This is why I sneak all the time, by the way. Yes. Oh, shit. I don't have enough ulti. Try again. Let's build it up. But just hit him with it. Stuff stealth, it doesn't matter. Boom! Have some of that. Really, really strong. This is your oh shit button and your getting quick button and also your devastation button. You can kind of finish people off with this, or you can even start with this. Just knock them down and start giving them hell. Really powerful. Resolving Vigor, very, very simple. In the Assault skill line, I did get this wrong in one of my previous videos because it's been a long time since I got this, but I believe this is Assault level 5. I think Warhorn's 4, I think this is 5, this is 6, this is 7. I could be wrong, but if I am, just put it in the comment section below. I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure it's Assault level 5. Anyway, once you get this, you get Vigor, which is the original version of it. Go kill a couple of mammoths. It really doesn't take any time at all to level it up past the original morph. Turn it into Resolving Vigor. Really nice heal over 5 seconds, once a second, and anyone caught in that as well, friendly, will heal as well as you will. Really, really good. So if you can keep Rally up all the time, plus this up as much as possible, then you'll have some really nice passive heals ticking over while you build up Rally for the big burst heal. So use them in combination with each other. Poison Injection, unfortunately this is in the end of the bow skill line, so this does take quite some time to unlock, and it does take some time to level up as well, so get on your zombie farm for this one and level it up. This, you attach it to the target and it does a decent amount of damage over 10 seconds, poison damage I might add. It's very, very strong, and of course because it's poison you can have a poison status effect come from that, which is an additional dot if you're lucky. However, this is really, really strong. You need this to be on the target because the lower their health goes, the more aggressive it gets. So you start pressuring them, get them under 50% health, and it'll really start hurting. You mix that with your other execute as well, they're going to die quite quickly. Very, very strong. Also, what's next? The resist buff. This is important, very important, and I'll get to the passives in a bit and I'll explain why. But this basically will give you major resolve and major ward, which will increase your physical and spell resistances by 5280 for 20 seconds. It does have a damage effect, which sprays out little spikes at the enemies, and applies a very small damage over time effect to them, which can break stealth, by the way, unless they purify it. So it's quite nice. But that has another role to play as well. Not just a resist buff, but it will help you heal. But we'll see that when I get to the passives after all these are done. Molten Armaments, this is in the Earth and Heart skill line, and this is the second ability that you unlock. Morph it to Molten Armaments, and you will receive Major Sorcery if you activate it, plus so will 6 allies around you, or you and 5 others. Increase in spell damage by 20% for 39 seconds, but you don't necessarily need that, they do. But what else this does is this gives us 40% increased heavy attack damage, which is nuts, which is why I can hit for between 40 and 60k heavy attack depending on my buffs at the time. In PvE, of course. PvP is different, but you get the idea. You can kind of scale it and figure out how hard it's going to hit. It's quite nasty. But this has some hidden perks as well, which are in the passives. Again, I'm going to get to those, but you must have this active all the time if you can help it. Little tip, by the way. When you're in stealth, or crouch, or whatever you want to call it, Rally doesn't break your stealth, so you can keep that up. The resist buff doesn't break your stealth, so you can keep that up. This, Molten Armaments, does. You can see I'm detected. Be very careful. Only activate it when you're sure you can't be seen. Get Rally ready. Get your resist buff ready. Then you can sneak in, and then you can give him some. Poison arrow, well, lethal arrow, in fact. This is deadly. And this is messed with in my CPs as well to make it really, really powerful. Basically, snipe, if you like. 35-meter range, which is insane. Does a stupid amount of poison damage on impact. It also applies a poison status effect by default. It's guaranteed, which is another poison dot, which is nasty alongside this one. So we use this first, this second. However, make sure you get your light attacks in. It's very important. This also defiles the target. Major defile, reducing their healing received and their health recovery by 42%. The biggest problem I see in PvP is a big chunky tank and loads of people chasing him with light attacks, and he just heals out the arse left, right and center. He's not going to die. His heals are too strong. You need to debuff your target. I know PvP and PvE are very, very different, but you debuff the target in PvE as far as resists are concerned, and in PvP, of course. So you hit harder. In PvP, they heal like hell. You don't want people to keep healing. If you're up against a Templar, you'll keep purifying this, but just pressure him. Keep putting on him until he runs out of resources, whatever. But anybody else who can heal as much as some of these guys out there can need to be debuffed. Get this on them. And you'll see that this not only supplies a dot, but it also supplies the debuff as well at the same time. The 3 debuffs on him at once there, but I'll show you that in the end chart on the weapon. It's very important. You've got to have Major Defile on the target. Same as a Dark Flare. Most Templars know this. If you're in PvP, get a Dark Flare on first, then give them hell. This is no different, but you can buff it in your CPs. So instead of giving it a 30% defile, or reduction to healing, it gives 42. Really, really strong. Not to mention, if you're staying at bay, you can actually pressure them with this and even kill them with it. It's a bit nuts. It's quite strong. Sometimes you don't even need to use your two-handed. Just sit back and fire at them. Okay, we've got one more very important skill, the ultimate on the back bar. Earth and Heart skill line. Again, at Earth and Heart level 12, you'll get this, and you can morph it to corrosive armor eventually, and this will do poison damage in small area of effect beside you or around you, and all the damage you take will only be per hit the equivalent of 3% of your maximum health. In PvP we have 30k plus, so this is very, very strong. You're quite tanky. In fact, you're almost immortal for 10 seconds, depending on how many people are hitting you at once. Also, you ignore physical resistances. So, any target with any physical resistance whatsoever, whether it's 10k or 50k, you go straight through it. It's very, very powerful. It's either your oh shit button or your get in and smash everyone button. Really, really strong. Now we're going to get to the passives and start putting this all together. First of all, we'll go over the class ones. This is very, very simple. You want all of these eventually anyway, especially if you're doing PvE or PvP combined, but the 2 most important ones are the top and the bottom one. All of these contribute to this skill line's damage and status effects and all the rest of it, but this one increases the damage of your burning and poison status effects. We do hit a poison status effect all the time from our lethal arrow. It's guaranteed. We need to make sure we buff that. Also, this does increase your poison area of effect damage. We don't have any poison area of effect damage per se, unless, of course, we pop the corrosive armor ultimate. That does contribute towards it. So get this one, get this one. These aren't too important. I mean, they do increase the duration of the skills, but we're not using the banner. We're not using anything that has a duration on it, so it doesn't really matter for us. And also it applies snares from them as well. Again, we're not using any of these at the moment, but if you choose to, you can, and I'd recommend getting these anyway, just in case you go into PvE. It's going to be a lot more beneficial for you. This is important. I did mention this resist buff has a heal added to it. As such, has a healing bonus added to it. First of all, make sure that you get these skills, because this will increase or reduce, sorry, the amount of block damage you can receive. So if you are blocking, you mitigate more than you normally would if you're another class. Health recovery, don't worry about it. We're a vampire. It's not that important, so you don't actually have to get this skill if you don't want to, but it adds minimal buffs for having a draconic power bill on the skill on the bar. Honestly, vampire health recovery is so bad you don't really need to invest the points in it. Resistances, of course we do need that, but this is the most important part. While a draconic power ability is active, your healing received, so the heals you get from other people or yourself, are increased by 12%. So for having this resist buff on, you now get 12% increased heals. Very, very nice. Keep that buff up if you can. Earth and Heart, this is essential stuff. Essential. Increases your duration of Earth and Heart abilities by 20%. So your ultimate if you're using it, and of course your Molten Armaments. Battle Roar, very, very powerful. You restore 47 points of health, 46 of magicka, and 46 of stamina for every ultimate point your ability costs. So the more expensive your ultimate, the more stuff you get back. So use this as your oh shit button, or your Batman. If you want to just shout Batman and hit people with this all the time, fine, you will get resources back. But it's cheap, it's 110, so you don't get much. But if you use this, you get a lot, because it's quite expensive. So it's your call, depends on the situation which one you use, but you will get rewarded for making the right choice if you like. This one here, any any allies close to you will receive minor brutality for 20 seconds, you included, increasing their weapon damage by 5%. They have to be within 30 meters. I think it goes up to 6 people. Right, so you press this, see the little hammer on the bottom right hand buff, that's minor brutality, 5% increased weapon damage for me and other players around me. Really, really nice. Keep that up, you want it. Obviously we're keeping our heavy attack damage up anyway, and that will contribute. Awesome. Very, very strong. But at the same time, for activating an Earth and Heart ability, if you press the ability once at least every 6 seconds, you will get 3 ultimate back. Very, very useful. It does count. It looks small, but it does count. And finally, the most important part, if you use an ability from the Earth and Heart skill line, you gain 990 stamina. This is a sustain buff as well. So for activating this, other people around you get 20% extra spell damage. You and everybody else gets 5% extra weapon damage. You gain extra 40% heavy attack, and you get 990 stamina back. Very, very strong. That skill line is essential, and you need to get this to 50 as soon as possible. If you're leveling a new DK, slap on some of these skills, doesn't matter which one, get them on your bar and gain XP while they're on the bar, and you will level the skill line up faster. It's very, very important. Two-hander, not going to go too much into these. You need to make sure you get every single passive possible, because obviously it will contribute to your overall damage, because this is what we're using. But some very important things to note. 1. Up to 3 nearby enemies will take damage, splash damage, up to 66% of the damage done from your lights and heavies. So if I heavy attack this dude, his mate gets hurt as well. If I light attack, they both get hurt. See what I mean? Really, really strong. And that's up to 3 people around the initial target. So 4 people in total. Very, very important stuff. I will have to note, by the way, I see a lot of people just buying skills for the sake of it. Read them and understand them. It's very important. This is important also. The maul that we're using goes through 20% of resistances. That's why we're using a mace or maul, if you want to call it that. Two-hander. Sustain. Oh, that's important. Sustain again. Oh, of course, you increase stamina recovery after you kill somebody. Very, very nice. So you can follow up into the next fight. This is essential. 10% increased damage after a heavy attack for your next attack. So if I heavy attack him, see that little circular orange thing with a fist in it? That's the buff. Lasts for 7 seconds. Any attack I use, including the heavy attack, the next one, will be stronger. Or if you heavy attack and an uppercut, that one's stronger. You always heavy first, follow up second. Very, very important. Including your Batman, your Dragon Leap, that works as well. Okay, bow. It's very important. Same applies. Make sure you get every single one of these skills. You can go through them in your own time if you want, but you will need to get them all, especially this one, because it helps you evade and run away. But they help for sustain, they help for crit, they help for damage. They also help for your evasion, like I just said. If you dodge roll, you run faster for 5 seconds. Just a point, you see the dodge roll buff at the bottom? That's a cooldown. If you interact with that by dodge rolling again, your next dodge roll costs more, and you'll eventually start running out of stamina. Note your feet. If they're shiny and green, that means that you are on that cooldown. So dodge roll now, feet are green. Yeah, I'm running fast, fine, because I've got that little buff. You see the boot buff. Wait for those feet to change from being green or illuminated before you dodge roll again, if you can help it. I know you can't always, but try to. Pay attention to your sustain. Medium armor, again, you can go through these in your own time if you want, but every single one of these is essential to your recovery, your sustain, your sneak cost, and of course, above all, your weapon damage, increased 12%. Every single one of these you must get, otherwise there's no point you wearing medium in the first place. This skill line here, very, very important. Steal stuff, sell stuff to the fence at the Thieves Guild. Also, if you break open chests or boxes or anything like that, you must do the lock picking. You can't just crack the chest open because it won't count. Anything that contributes to this skill line as far as thievery is concerned generally, you can get this skill line opened up, and you can then put your points into this. I would highly recommend it, especially since you're stamina, because you already have a reduction to sneak anyway. You're a vampire, so you move very fast in sneak, and of course if you have 40% reduction as well, look, it doesn't cost me barely anything to sneak. I can do this all day. So I can cover really large areas of ground while sneaking and not struggle. Really, really handy. Not just for getting away, but for getting in as well. Vampire, of course we are a vampire. 10% recovery, stamina and magicka, and of course we have a reduction to damage when we're low health. So you're going to be brawling, that's the whole point of the build, and you're going to go low health. That's also the point of rally, so you can get the most out of the burst heal. But the lower your health is, the less damage you take, up to a 33% amount of mitigation. The lower your health. It's not straight 50% and then you start 33% reduction. Doesn't work that way. It's the lower you are, under 50%. So if you're like 10, 5% or so, you've got some serious mitigation. You can take a lot of punishment at low health. Also, this is very important. As you just saw, I move at normal speed while stealthed. This is because I'm a vampire and it allows you to do it. No penalty for sneaking. But at night times, you see it has a time that it takes for you to actually hide. At night, you hide faster. So you can get out of trouble real quick. Or get into it real quick. Your call. Okay, what else do we need? Fighter's Guild, very important. Get Intimidating Presence, just in case you have to fire off the Camo Hunter to try and decloak people. This way, it's cheaper. Make sure you have this, because if you have an ability on your bar, like we do, we have Camo Hunter, one ability will increase your weapon damage by 3%. That's per skill, by the way, so if you put any more on there, that will increase it as well. But for now, we're just having the one. Very, very important passive. And this as well, if you kill undead, Daedra, or werewolves, not just NPCs or mobs, whatever you want to call them, from ICP and or Imperial City and stuff like that, players as well. If you kill a vampire or a werewolf, you'll get ultimate. You'll also get ultimate for killing players anyway in the passives in the assault skill line, which I'm going to get to. So this is very, very important, and it means you can make your bats a little more spammy. Yes, I'm calling it Batman. Staying that way. It's what it is. Undaunted, very, very important stuff. If you see a synergy, they are friendly. They're not enemy synergies. Pick them up. You get a benefit from them no matter what. Every single synergy in the game has some form of benefit to you. Not only that, for doing that, you will get resources back. 4% of your max health, stamina, and magicka. If you're in a massive brawl and there's synergies firing off, take them. You want those resources, you want to survive, and you want to hit back. This also, get Undaunted to level 9 as soon as you can, and for each different type of armor you're wearing, you'll gain 2% across the board for all your resources. Magicka, health, and stamina. We are using 1 light, 1 heavy, and we're also using 5 medium. So we've got 3 different weights, which means we get 6% across the board. Also, just to note, I did skip this part. Where is it? Heavy armor. We're using 1 piece heavy armor. We really want this. Don't worry about the rest. That's just because it's my main and I've got everything on there. This particular passive here will give you 2% additional max health. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you add all the percentages up, it really, really counts. Assault. Obviously, this goes without saying. You want to level your PvP level up, which is how you do this. You get alliance points, and eventually your assault level will go up and up and up. Max level. Get all of these passives. They're very, very, very useful, but above all, you want to get to this one. You kill a player, you generate 20 ultimate. 5 players down, with a light attack involved somewhere, you can use a Batman. Love it. Okay, also the same applies for this. This will level up the same pace as Assault. Get all of these as soon as you possibly can. They all benefit you in PvP in one way or another. However, this is very important. You will get points for resurrecting people. Not only that, if your guys are up, you're not all dead, so you're not losing. Get people up off the floor, and this passive will allow you to resurrect people much, much faster. So very, very important. Get them all. Imperial, yes, of course we're in Imperial. We have 12% increased max health, which is huge. We have 10% increased max stamina, which is massive as well, and in fact on par with the Red Guard. So we have the same amount of damage output, but we have more health. And we have Red Diamond. You have a 10% chance while doing melee damage, and we are doing it a lot, to restore 6% of your max health. The more health you have, the more effective this is. And it stacks with your healing received and minor and major mending if you have any of that going. So just for doing this, for hitting with lights and heavies, which we will be doing a shit ton, because you want to heavy then hit if you can help it. You can heal the whole time while you're pressuring the enemy. Really, really useful stuff. And finally, the most important passive in the game for me, apart from vampire passives, is this. You are using potions. You will be using them left, right, and center, and you want to make sure you can get the biggest duration out of them possible. If you get this skill here, you will then make your crafted pots, if you have any recovery on them, or buffs or bonuses, you'll make them last 47 seconds. The cooldown on a potion is 45. This is essential. Now, you don't have to be a potion crafter to do all this stuff, but I would highly recommend maxing this out, dumping all your skill points, and then putting them into here afterwards. You just need to get to 50, then put 3 points in here, and ignore the rest. I do have an alchemy guide on my channel. I'll put the link in the description for that, and it'll show you how to get alchemy level maxed in 15 minutes flat, so you never have to look back. Very, very strong. Okay, now I'm going to get to the gear. You're going to like this part. You'll be like, what the fuck is he doing? I know. Okay, first of all, the Fury is still here with us. Now, I'm using a two-handed maul because that way I can go through resistances by 20%, physical resistances specifically. Also using sharpened again, so I have high penetration when I hit people. Really, really nice. You can change this to Nernhound or something if you like, for more flat damage against shields or against people with lesser resist. It's entirely up to you, but personally, I preference sharpened. That's just how I'm staying with it. Also with a weapon and spell damage glyph on it, so if you do heavy attack or light attack, you will increase your weapon damage overall. It's very, very nice. I would highly recommend this particular weapon, but choice is yours again. Now, the Fury, we're using 5 pieces of this, of course. It gives us maximum health, which is nice. It gives us maximum stamina, and it gives us a weapon damage. So our resources are quite good, our health is good, our damage is good. However, this is the most important part. I said that we can get to 5,006 weapon damage, and this is how. If you're in the middle of a really big brawl, or if you're taking quite a lot of damage in a long fight, whatever, every time you get critically struck or hit, or you take critical damage, however you want to describe it, your weapon damage is increased by 30 for 6 seconds. Now, that's not just 6 seconds and it's gone. If you're continuously taking damage once every 6 seconds, or less than 6 seconds, that 6-second timer will restart and go over and over and over and over and keep ticking up to 25 times. So you can stack a shit ton of weapon damage as long as you stay in the fight, as long as you're continuously taking damage. So the harder you get hit, or the more often you get hit, the harder you hit back. Full out berserker. It's very, very strong. We are using a master's bow. This is because you get increased weapon damage against the target that you hit with a poison arrow. So if you hit him with a poison injection, he now gets hit as though I have an extra 300 weapon damage, alongside the 5k that I'd have if I was fully stacked with all my bonuses. Really, really powerful. I've also got a reduction to weapon damage and spell damage on it. So when you start the fight, hit them with Defile, hit them with reduction to weapon, get in, increase yours, and crack them. They're debuffed to hell and you're buffed to hell. It works really, really well together. So their return initially for the first 5 seconds is going to be bugger all damage. It's really, really nice. You don't have to have this, by the way. No, you have 5 Fury on the front. If you switch to the back, you have 4 Fury, which means you will lose this bonus when it runs out. It'll still tick over, but when it hits the 6 seconds, obviously you can't gain any more while you're on the back part, it will run out. So if you're not comfortable enough to quickly switch weapons from back to front and keep this uptime, you can just use a Fury bow on the back bar and keep the bonus on both bars. It's entirely up to you. Of course, I'm using 1 light Bloodspawn, so then I can get my Undaunted passives, and this is to give me the extra recovery. You don't have to have this, you can have Storm Fist, or you can use anything else you want really, but this personally for me is my preference. Crit resistance on all armor, by the way. That's my light piece, that's my heavy piece. Fury chest. Now, the 5 medium pieces, you're going to wonder what the fuck I'm doing, but trust me, stay with me on this one. 5-piece Heim Jazz. Now, you don't have to go into Vet Mazaton to get this, don't panic. You can just do the first 3 bosses on normal, smash it to bits, get the armor, and get out. You don't even have to go to the last boss. But what this does is this gives me, I've got it on all the pieces. As you can see, I worked really, really hard with this one because I trait change, and if you know me well enough, you know I don't present builds on PTS. I actually farmed this stuff and then changed it. Stam recovery on the first piece, extra stamina on the next piece, and crit. So it's a really nice all-round medium set. This is where it gets nuts. When an enemy within 28 meters of you dies, you gain Major Berserk, along with our Minor that we keep up, for 3 seconds, increasing your damage done by 25%. 3 seconds doesn't sound very long, but it's really, really powerful. And here's the trick to it. If I'm here, smacking Bob here, and someone over here dies, I get a bonus to damage and I start cracking the hell out of Bob really, really hard. So I'm hitting him for a normal amount of damage, and then all of a sudden someone dies and I hit him for 25% extra. It's really stupid, especially in a Zerg or a Brawl or a small scale fight where people are dying quite quickly. You can really, really take advantage of it. So for example, if he dies and I don't know, I've hit him with a heavy attack, I've just now got the buff and I Batman this dude, he's going to get hit so hard he's not even going to see straight. Also, bridge fights, I know some of you like those. His body's going down everywhere. You can keep this buff up for quite a long time and just career through enemies. It's a mess. You're a full-out berserker. More damage you take, the more you dish out, and the more people die, the more aggressive you get. Really, really strong. And for those of you that like the 1v multiple fights, you kill someone, the next person better run. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Oh, also a good point to make. The Fury armor is heavy, which is why we've only got 1 piece on the body, because we want 1 piece heavy, and we have the weapon. Now the jewelry is healthy, which is very, very nice for us, because we do want to be quite tanky, especially as a berserker type role. So healthy jewelry with weapon damage, 1 piece heavy on the chest, and then the weapon as well. So in that order, 5 medium Heme Jazz, 1 heavy Fury, and 1 light Bloodspawn. Now we're going to go to the CPs, which are of course very important for damage, sustain, all that kind of stuff. Especially our resistance to damage, because we get hit by a lot of single target stuff in PvP and you can die quite quickly. So we're going to fix that. Okay, 72 points into Ironclad. All those single target hits, Recon Blows, Crystal Shards, Force Pulses, everything, light attacks, whatever you want to call them, everything that you get hit with, single target, this will help. Direct attacks. And you do get hit by them a lot. Surprise attacks and all that kind of stuff as well. Crit resistance, this will buff us by 1,000, pushing us to 2.8. You can go more if you want, but honestly, 2.8 is quite comfortable for me. I quite like it. You can push to 3k, maybe 3.2 tops, because that's cap, but I wouldn't go any higher in here, to be honest, at the moment. You could take a few out here, but you're going to start hitting some quite heavy diminished returns. I mean, each point now at the moment is giving you 20, so it's quite small. Thick-skinned, dot reduction. Reduction to magica type damage, and reduction to physical and disease and poison type damage. This across the board is quite nice to all resistances. You will get hit with dots, you will get hit with these two types of damage, and a lot of the damage at the same time is going to be direct to you. So buffing all of them together is quite a nice balance, especially for PvP specifically. Light and heavy attacks, you will get hit by those a lot. Again, if they do count as direct also, they have a certain element or damage type, and you want to reduce them furthermore with this. It's really, really handy. Quick recovery, 11 points in here gives you 3% increased healing received, which stacks on top of our draconic power as well, and whatever buffs we have at the time. So this is really, really nice for boosting your heals from yourself or from other people. And of course, this passive is very, very important. If you res someone while you're doing so, you take reduced damage. Very, very nice indeed for PvE and PvP. 28 points into Warlord. This reduces the cost of break free. We do need to do that a lot. We get CC'd to hell in PvP unless a movable pot is active. Put some points into here. 75 points into Mooncalf. This is essential that you understand the way this works. 75 points in here gives you 14%. The next bonus that you will receive for this is at 15%. Not 14.07 like the next point says. That's how much the next point will give you, but you don't get anything from it. You're going to have to spend 25 points to get that next 1%. It's not worth it. If I spent 25 points in here for 1%, I would lose 12.08% in here. 12% because you don't use a 0.8. So what's the point? Use 25 points in something rather than getting nothing in here and just getting a further 1% here. It's much more efficient way to spend your points. Otherwise, you're just going to be putting 100 in here and wasting stuff you could have used elsewhere. 37 point into heavy attack return. So if you heavy attack, you get more stamina back, 10% almost, or 9% in fact. You can pump this up a little more if you want, but honestly, you don't need to, because in that way you can spend your points elsewhere. Like here, 40 points into tumbling. We are dodge rolling a lot. We do have a reduction to it because we're in medium, but we want to further reduce it because that's how we avoid damage on medium armor. We need to be able to dodge, so reduce that as much as possible. Then the important one. This is why my poison arrow or lethal arrow actually defiles the enemy so heavily. Instead of 30%, it does 42% because I put 50 points into befoul, which increases the effectiveness of your healing reduction abilities. This also works for any other class that has any form of defile or reduction to healing, or any weapons or skills or glyphs that do that. So if you have a defile type skill or anything like that, this will actually contribute towards it. It's very, very powerful. 11 into Blessed, increasing our healing done. Obviously, we do heal. We have heal and receive bonuses as well. We might as well buff the flat amount for the heals that we actually pump out. 19 points into Physical Weapon Expert, increasing our light and heavy attacks. Remember, our heavy attacks are huge, especially with a 40% increase from Molten Armaments. Master at Arms, most of our abilities, apart from the Resist buff and Corrosive Armor, I believe, are single target, so we need to boost that as much as possible. Not to mention also we've got 75 points in this tree, meaning we get the Butcher, which makes our light attacks 5% stronger if their enemies are below 25% health. Heavy attacks also, sorry. So we have a bonus to light and heavies, plus our heavy attacks are boosted with our DK skills. Thaumaturge, we are using a few dots, or a couple in fact, which is the poison status effect and of course the poison arrow, so poison injection in fact. We do need to buff that, so a few points in here is quite nice. We do want to crit occasionally, so not everyone has full impen, and don't forget of course you want to crit from your heals as well. Penetration, almost 3k here on top of the not far short of 3k for the sharpened weapon, alongside 20% from the maul. You see where I'm going with it. We've got pretty good penetration, but you can fiddle with this yourself if you want. If you find this is too small, you can buff it, and if you find it's too high, then you can bring it down a bit. It's entirely up to you. 56 into mighty, meaning our poison, physical, and disease damage is increased by 12%. Everything we do counts for this. Now, you can put some more points into here to make it go to 64 to increase to 13%, but for that 1%, you're going to lose quite a bit out of anything else or any of these nice shiny bonuses here. So this is where I'm most comfortable with it. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a quick demonstration in a moment. Basically, remember this from crouch. Rally can be activated. Your resist buff can be activated. You do not reveal yourself, but hide behind something to put Molten Armaments on. Make sure you don't get spotted, because that breaks it. While you are hidden, as long as Rally's ticking over, look out for that red buff on the bottom right hand side. That's your minor berserk. If you've got that, get stuck in. Always heavy attack from stealth if you can, because it's huge. And I would highly recommend that initiating any form of fight, you always start with a heavy and lethal arrow, followed by a poison injection. Get in, give them hell. You need to make sure that this defile is on the target. Do not fight someone without that on them. Even if it falls off and you can see it's fell off, get out of the way, give them another quick one, then get in. And then Batman him when he dies. Because if he dies, he's going to get hit by a 25% increased Batman. Really, really fun. Anyway, I'm going to show you a quick clip of me running around. A bit of solo, a little bit of battlegrounds, upsetting people. Yes, of course I got killed before it happens. But enjoy. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too boring. Hopefully that helped. This is a bit nuts. It does take a little bit of practice, but hopefully you enjoy it as much as you did the last version of it. He's a little less tanky than he was before, but he dishes out a shit ton more damage, especially if people die. Keep your eyes peeled on your hands. If they glow red, like a dark red color, you just got a massive bonus, so go kill something. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. If you're not subscribing, please do hit that sub button. It is free. Don't forget also, if you want to help support the channel outside of YouTube, there are some links in the description for Patreon, for Twitter, for Facebook, and of course the website XynodeGaming.com. Once again, thank you all very, very much for watching. Fully appreciate the support, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.